So I'm not going to bore you with all the science stuff on here. You can go to evansdrumheads.com and get all the information on there about exactly how they work and all this. But in a nutshell, the head sits on the bearing edge of your drum better. So for this comparison stroke review thing, what I'm going to be looking at is a brand new set of Evans level 360 heads. Also, I'm going to compare those to a brand new set of normal non-360 Evans G1 heads. And I'm also going to compare them to the existing G1s that are on my kit, which are a used old set. So you're going to get the comparison between a used old set of G1s, a new set of G1s, and a new set of level 360 G1s. All of them are coated heads, by the way. Now, before I bore you to death with all the variations between these different heads, I'm sure you just can't wait to hear them. So here's a quick preview of what's coming up later in this video. Right, let's get one of these out the box and have a look at it. So, here we go, a G1 Evans level 360 head. Now you know it's an Evans level 360 head because it says on the logo, but it's a little known fact that these heads have actually been in circulation without the logo since around September 2012. So how do you know if you've got 360 heads? Well, to date your head, you need to have a look at the edge of the hoop on the head itself. So you want to look for the code number next to where it says made in the USA. So on this one it says 13B05. So the first two numbers are the year of production. So 13 will be 2013. The B is the month of production. So A is January, B is February, etc. And then the 05 refers to the day of production. So on the older G1s that I was going to compare them to, so I'll just open this pack. So these are brand new G1s, but they're the non-360 G1s. So on these, I look at the side and the code says 12G03. So 12 means they're made in 2012. G is the 7th letter of the alphabet, so that'll be July. So 3rd of July, 2012. Now, if we just whip one of the old heads off here, just so we know what we're dealing with, we'll see when these ones were made, and then we've got a bit of a reference point for all of them. So give me a minute. Right, so if we have a look at these, it says 10H24. So it's going to be 2010, 24th of August 2010, these ones were made. Temporarily pop that back on there. I'll come back to that. Now, when I first opened my pack of 360s, I was expecting to see some sort of revolution in head design. But then when I compare them to the slightly older G1s, they really look exactly the same. So who cares about such a minuscule difference between the two different designs? Well, this is really the key point. So if we take the non-360 head and pop it on the shell, press down on the rim in the way that the hoop of the drum would be pressing down on the rim, and you do get a significant amount of play. The head moves around as it beds itself onto the bearing edge. Compare that to the 360, we'll do exactly the same way. It just sits on the bearing edge much, much better. You can feel there's no play at all now when I push down on the edge of the hoop. And you can feel the head does rest perfectly flat on the shell. But to me, the non-360 head is still very, very similar to the 360 design. So I got in touch with Evans, and they were very helpful, and they sent a response that really explained everything. So as we know, from September 2012, 360 heads were being sent out without the 360 logo on. So it wasn't until the product was properly launched in January that they started sending them out with the logo on. So if you bought a head after September 2012, it's almost certainly going to be a 360 head. But even before that date, they were obviously testing the design, they were getting everything perfected. So really it's more of an evolutionary process. So the likelihood is, even if your head was made before September 2012, such as this one, it's still utilising some of the 360 technology. So don't get too hung up on it. At the end of the day, as long as the head sounds good, that's all that matters. But that means what we're comparing here is brand new level 360 G1s made in February 2013. Brand new G1s that aren't 360s, but they may use some of the 360 technology, and these were made in July 2012. And we've also got G1s that were made in August 2010 that definitely aren't 360s. So first of all, this is the old G1 head on at the minute. It's a bit tired, it's got the odd dent in it, it could do with being replaced anyway. So let's swap that for a new G1 that isn't the 360. So first of all, this is a non-360 G1 that's on at the minute that I've just literally taken out the box and shoved on. I'll give it a little stretch. Okay, not bad. Now let's go for the 360. Now a few people have said, even with it not tuned and just as a loose head, that these heads are so amazing that it sounds good even with these not tightened at all. So these are just finger tight at the minute. See how it sounds. Actually, I was genuinely going to say that sounds awful, but it actually sounds alright, I suppose. Anyway, let's tune it. All I'm going to do is literally half a turn on each. That's pretty good. Let's tune it up a little bit more. Give it another quarter turn on each. So okay, well, how long's that taken me? 5 minutes or something to try 3 different heads there, and genuinely, to me, that sounds really good. I'm gonna hear it back mic'd up and see how it sounds. And then we'll come back to doing the whole kit later on. Right, so one other point that I wanted to cover was fitting the heads onto older drums. And this is an old Premier snare drum that I've always had problems fitting heads onto. And I was assured by Evans that these new heads would fit the hoops of my ancient Premier snare drum. And Evans, I've got bad news. So look, I'll show you. Whip these off. So that's the old head on the hoop, and you can see the head's a bit bashed in, but there's probably still a bit of life in it. But it's really, really tight in the hoop, and it takes a little bit of a push to get it out. Getting it in the first place needs a hammer. So here is a brand new Evans G1 level 360. Does it fit? No. The head is fractionally too big for the hoop, and it's not Evans' fault. It's an old snare drum. But Evans did say that the new 360s would fit on this, and it categorically doesn't. Anyway, I've talked to death about these heads now, so it's time to let you have a listen to them in a few different common usage scenarios. So what I'm going to do is compare them. I'm going to start from the most basic dry sound and work up to a more produced sound. So, are they better? Yes. Are they radically different? No. Should they be radically different? No. So I've found on this kit with these heads, there's very, very little difference between the level 360 sound and both the used and brand new non-360 G1s. And really that's testament to how good Evans drum heads actually are. After all, you don't want one set of G1s to sound radically different from another set of G1s. If you want the G1 coated sound, you're going to get the G1 coated sound. But one big benefit of the level 360s is the tuning range and how well they can handle a much wider tuning range than the non-360 heads. And that's especially apparent when the drum is tuned below the drum sweet spot. When you approach the drum sweet spot, the closer you get to that point, and once you get beyond that, the difference becomes less noticeable. But certainly when they're tuned low, they sound really, really good. Now all of this is so subjective, we're only looking at one type of head on one type of drum here. But hopefully you found this useful and you haven't gone too insane listening to the endless variations of different drum sounds. So thank you for watching and see you next time.